And then in February of 71, I went into the Army.
Okay. And spent 1 year in Turkey, is that right?
Yeah, first year at Fort Sill. Went through training at Fort Sill, the Field Artillery Basic course. And then I was assigned to 3 Corps Artillery.
Okay.
And then the second year, for reasons only beknownst to the Army, because the Army was drawing down, I was sent to Turkey in a I guess it's no longer classified, but I was in a nuclear warhead unit.
Okay. That's a lot of responsibility.
Well, yeah, it's what your job is, and you never think you're going to do your job, is to deploy with the Turkish Army. And if the orders came down, we were in a field artillery unit. So they would fire mainly, they had some other, they would fire the 155 and 8-inch at the time, and Honest John would turn it over them for firing.
And I think you still have contacts with some of the people that you met in Turkey, am I right?
No, I have contacts with Turkish judges.
Do you want to mention what happened to their fate?
Well, about, I guess it's 10 or 12, maybe a little longer years ago, I ran into a Turkish judge who was studying at Penn State. And I think there were a couple up there at the time. And I got close to them. And I had them down to the Commonwealth Court. And they were, one of them went on to get a master's in law at Michigan State. And so they invited me over to Turkey, and I went to Turkey, went to their judicial college, and for 10 days went around Turkey. The interesting thing, and probably pertinent to today's United States, all the 2 judges that I knew the best both went to jail. Others went into hiding. One now is in London. One now is in the Netherlands. And and all the people that I met all the head of all the Supreme Courts and the head prosecutor of Istanbul. All of them went to jail. Erdogan put 60,000 judges, police, prosecutors in jail. He took out the opposition and put them in jail. And replaced them with one of the keys was, when I was at the Judicial College, before you had to take a test to get in. It was the elites went into the Judicial College. And he just started putting people in, his people. So, you take out the judiciary.
Yep. Yeah. So after your tour in Turkey, did you came back to Pittsburgh and got a job where?
City Solicitor's Office. Okay. I came back as an assistant. Actually took a pay cut.
Pay cut, okay. And you rose to be the city solicitor after about 10 years, as I recall.
73, I became city solicitor in 82.
9 years as city solicitor. Did you enjoy that job?
Best job I ever had.
That's what I thought you were going to say. Yeah, because you were in charge and you just had to get the approval of Mayor Pellegrini. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, it's everybody says, would you like to go back and do that job? And you can only go back and do the job. The job would be different, not because the city's different, but because the other people were there. We had a group of people that were in sync. And when you said I had to call Mayor Pellegrini, I didn't have to call because I knew what he was thinking.
Okay.
And so sometimes it was when I did something, it was a surprise to him, but he supported it.
Yeah. Okay.
But it was a good time. We had a lot of good people,
A lot of very capable people in
a
that.
lot of very kids. That department for years, even before I got there, had this reputation of being just a very good place. I was told when Davy Lawrence was there, and the city had patronage.
Yeah.
In the city law department, there was no patronage. They just hired straight down the line. That and city planning, at that time, city planning was much more important in cities because although I think it's become more important because Robert Moses is starting to enjoy a renaissance in thinking.
Yeah.
I used to be a Jane Jacobs person. Now I'm a Robert Moses person.
Okay.
Nobody probably knows who either one of those two people.
Well, you can explain those people because, as I recall, Moses was instrumental in developing New York City.
He was a consultant to Pittsburgh too.
And to Pittsburgh too. And Jane Jacobs was really somebody who opposed him because of what it does to communities.
That's right. And James Jacobs has this whole theory of you try to keep neighborhoods intact and everything. And that's laudable. The problem is that the New York that she envisioned is gone and we're getting nothing done. And, there's this thought that before urban renewal and all of that, things were better. In Pittsburgh, it's the lament of the lower hill because they took down Crawford Grill, which is this jazz place. But if you look at the buildings in the lower hill, they would have been torn down anyway. They were just some of the first buildings. But the lower hill was a transportation project. It took the crosstown from the north and brought it through the city and brought it south. And
was that the time when the Civic Arena was built?
The Civic Arena, the thought was they were going to make that area a cultural center. There was plans for a symphony hall there. And then if you go up Center Avenue, there was supposed to be housing and skyscrapers. There was a couple built. There was Central Medical Pavilion and then what was called Washington Plaza at the time. And that was an IM Pie building. Generally what happened is there was, I think the area should have been torn down because if you go back, there are pictures online that you can see of those areas. Back then, the city would have had to tear them down under the condemnation of the buildings bad, which the city for a number of years was doing. When I was there, it was doing about 1,000 buildings a year at our expense. And I think the Civic Arena was good, that was needed, but the other one was known as, what was it called? It came out of the 1939 World's Fair. It was I'll think of the name for it. There was a name for this type of development. Like World's Fairs, we're going way off the topic here, but World's Fairs had this enormous influence on cities, like the 1898 Columbian Exposition in the city, which developed into the City Beautiful movement. that's Fifth Avenue. That's the Parkway in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So you left the city solicitor's office to run for the Commonwealth Court. That's right.
I was in the city solicitor's office when I ran for the Commonwealth.
Right. Why did you decide to run for the Commonwealth Court?
Needed a job.
You were going to get kicked out of the city solicitor's office?
Pellegrini was the mayor in 87. He informed us that he was dying from amyloidosis.
Yeah.
And by that time, in 85, between 85 and 86, a lot of the people started leaving. You get to an age in the city's office where you got to leave to actually make money. You got paid no money. You didn't even get state money. So all the people started leaving. And quite frankly, I would have been gone, but I was waiting for my daughter to be born, my second daughter. She was born in 86. And then was waiting for that year, and then Dick told me that he was dying and you can't leave then. And so I stayed, and which was an interesting time because being like the last person there for basically from 85 on, you get more and more responsibility because you're the most senior person, even though they fill in the back.
Yeah, a lot of new people coming in.
A lot of new people, and it was a rough couple of years, and then Sophie came in, who was great to me, and I could have stayed, but it was time to go.
Okay. And did you have to make a lot of political contacts to get to run in a primary and then run in for the general election?
No, I wasn't endorsed.
You weren't endorsed. Who'd they endorse?
They endorsed Paul McHale out of Allentown, who became a congressman. Very nice guy. He was the one, if you recall, criticized Clinton and told him that Clinton should resign. And eventually he became Deputy Secretary of Defense.
Okay.
In the Bush administration.
Bush administration, yeah. Okay. Okay, so that's who was endorsed, but you ran in the primary and were successful.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to reflect on that at all? That whole political process?
Well, initially I was appointed by Casey to the seat.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And then the unions, because of things I did as city solicitor, the building trades unions came out against me.
It was stopped you.
They sent a letter to every senator saying I was anti-union and all of that.
Yeah.
And so that, and it was only a year appointment. I didn't get confirmed. But if I didn't get that nomination, I probably wouldn't have run.
Okay.
I had never gone to any Democratic committee meetings, dinners, anything. The city, because there was such a large Democratic majority and there was no Republican opposition. In fact, business community in Pittsburgh loved Dick.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to make those. There was no politics involved. In fact,